So Canelo Alvarez gets the better of Gennady Golovkin over 12 rounds in the rematch, officially that is, and wins a majority decision, becoming the middleweight king. First things first though, what a great fight. When you have all that hype, when you have all that supposed beef or spite, whatever you want to call it, but it really does pay off, they really do deliver. You've just got to give them a big thumbs up. It was an excellent, big high profile fight that really paid off. It was high quality and it was high impact. The best of both worlds. So I agree with what Golovkin said. They really did both come away champions. But as for the decision itself, the majority decision to Canelo, a lot of people are screaming robbery. I think that's a bit overkill for a fight that has so many people who thought it was a draw. And for so many people who still had Golovkin winning, they only had him winning marginally. So robbery, again, a strong word. A robbery is Lennox Lewis versus Evander Holyfield 1, with Eugene Williams giving the fight to Evander Holyfield 1, 15-1-13, and round 5, if you remember, which was definitely Lewis's round. She also gave that to Holyfield. That's a robbery. That's corruption. This isn't a robbery. This is corruption. I think a lot of people went into this rematch with the sentiment that because they felt Golovkin won the first one, they saw it as a wrong that needed righting, and they perhaps are scoring a little bit with their hearts as well, or forgetting that quite a few of the rounds were very close and hard to score. I thought the most discernible thing about this rematch was the change in Canelo. The first thing I thought before the first bell went was, is he going to move? Or is he going to stand there? And straight away, Canelo met Golovkin in the centre of the ring, and he didn't move. He didn't back up at all in the whole fight. Even when he was getting tired and the hands started to drop, as they do, Canelo's main drawback as a fighter, once he starts getting winded and the hands drop, he was still trying to suck wind and then throw right back and basically stay in the mid-range. So that was the most discernible thing, and I think ultimately that is what got him the victory in the end. Golovkin called him out about fighting Mexican style, as he says, and Canelo did just that. He looked a little bit smaller on the scales. He looked like he'd lost some muscle mass, but it was a much better performance. I really liked how he stood there and gutted it out. He went to the body more than Golovkin did, ironically. That was one of the big factors, and perhaps that's something that isn't as noticed as headshots. Now, Golovkin was landing a lot of jabs to the head that are scoring points, and they were going on to the not always accurate compu box. But how much was that jab actually controlling Canelo? And how good were those shots compared to the bolo-type uppercuts Canelo was landing as they came in, really easy to miss? And the left hook to the liver as well, he was landing that a few times. And because no part of your body discernibly moves so much with a body shot, you don't always score them as well, but it was Canelo who was really digging to the body. Now, that is not to say it was a close fight. It definitely was. I scored it a draw, when I rewatched it. Very hard to pull them apart. But there's two ways of scoring a fight. You have the round by round, and then you have what is known as, the story of the fight. And the story of this fight was Canelo chose to really gut it out, to go for it. And I felt he dictated his kind of fight more. His narrative, that stayed consistent, where it was Golovkin, I felt, who tactically got a bit confused at times. He showed his versatility. At the same time, he was thrown in a nice right uppercut, Golovkin, but then particularly his left hook to the body, one of his best shots that we know, and wasn't there in the first fight. It wasn't there in the rematch as well. And now Abel Sanchez, he spoke to a lot of the boxing media, and he said in a lot of the post-fight discussions that Golovkin wasn't listening to him a lot of the time, and that he was trying to implore him to do these things, and he wasn't putting them in. So there's a disconnection there between the master and the pupil. So bit of confusion there tactically, it seems, from Golovkin, despite doing some great work himself. He had a cracking 10th round where he hit Canelo with one of his cleaner shots, and then he pressed the attack. He also did something similar in the 11th. But again, going back to the narrative of the fight, and perhaps why Canelo ultimately won, even in those rounds that I probably just gave to Golovkin, 10 and 11, what was most telling is when Golovkin pressed in his vantage, and he was really going for it. Normally in the first fight, when Canelo would have got on his bike a bit and skirted around the ropes, he answered right back this time. He was given some good shots in the 10th, and he came right back. And he was hurt a bit in the 11th, or, well, backed up a bit, and then he came right back again. So he was always calling Golovkin on whatever was landed. So even though I scored it a draw myself, you just look at how Canelo conducted himself, and I guess you could say that's ultimately why he won the fight. So all this robbery and really just laying into him, especially when he showed how tough he is in the ring. I mean, what more can you say? Whatever truth there was to the glenbuterol, steroids don't improve your chin. So you can only give Canelo a thumbs up, and I think only the most begrudging fanboy can give a thumbs down to the Mexican. So it's tough luck for Golovkin. For a lot of the time, he's been the danger man at middleweight. But how things have panned out now, you feel that, did he turn pro too late? Was he hanging about as an amateur too much? I do give Canelo a bit of criticism. I do really feel he did wait. There was a period he could have fought Canelo. There was a period Cotto, of course, could have fought Golovkin earlier on, and he didn't. And then there was a period where Canelo definitely could have fought Golovkin, and he just waited a bit, didn't he? There was a waiting period. It wasn't as bad as Pacquiao Mayweather, but there was a distinct waiting period where he dropped the belt and said, "You're not dictating," and then he finally agreed. And I can't help but feel there was a bit of talk between Golden Boy and Canelo at that point. They just wanted to see Golovkin age a little bit. And of course, Golovkin fought Danny Jacobs first time he'd gone the 12th, didn't look great, and then that's when they agreed to go to it. So there was a little bit of cheekiness there. That old phrase, timing, that so many fighters are using these days, I feel they just exploited there when they finally got round to fighting Golovkin. So it's tough luck for him. Funnily enough, I think there is going to be a third fight. There's too much money involved, and people will watch it again. I think the Cinco de Mayo 2019, I reckon there's going to be a rubber match. Personally, I don't really want to see it. Golovkin's going to be 37, and Canelo obviously learnt a lot in the first fight. In the second fight, we can see he can stand toe-to-toe with Golovkin, something that was considered absolute poison for anyone a few years ago. He's just done that. Canelo can only learn more and go in with even more confidence in a rubber match, being the younger man as well. You'd think we're going to get, you know, a decisive victory this time, so I don't really want to see it. Golovkin is going to fight on, he wants that money, and, you know, so that's probably going to guarantee the trilogy, but I would like Canelo to perhaps fight the likes of Jacobs, and maybe Golovkin can fight Saunders. Saunders fancies that now. I'd like to see, I feel like if there's a rubber match between Golovkin and Canelo, then the middleweight division isn't progressing, because Canelo is the main champion now. So, awesome fight, tough luck for Golovkin, no robbery. And, you know, he just waited a little bit until he got older ultimately, but he also really proved his cojones in that rematch, worth a third and a fourth watch as well, I think. But I want to see the division progress. I don't want to see a trilogy. So, there you are.